Topping today's news, hundreds attend the official launch of the 50th Independence celebrations. Prime Minister Davis encourages the business community to continue to help build the nation, and one of the country's sporting legends get a subdivision named in his honor. This is your Jcn Evening News. It's a pleasure to have you join us. It was a grand occasion on Thursday evening as Prime Minister Philip Davis, government officials and other dignitaries, along with scores of patriotic Bahamians, gathered in Rawson Square for the unveiling of the Bahamas' 50th Independence logo and theme. Prime Minister Davis, who had the responsibility of revealing the logo, spoke to the nation's rich heritage.
The vision and courage and determination of so many people have brought us to this moment. We are the children and grandchildren of those visionary, courageous and determined people. This is our inheritance, and is now up to us, each of us, to improve the course, steady sunward to chart a better future for us all. My friends, the promise of independence was more than just freedom from colonial rule. It was also the promise of self-determination, the right to shape our own destiny. When we joined the United Nations in 1973 and became a distinctive part of the international community, our founding father, Sir Lyndon Pindling, set out our credo to the General Assembly. He said, and I quote, "We wish to live in peace. We wish to satisfy the needs, both spiritual and physical, of our own people. We wish to be neither dominated or coerced, and we wish to build a society built on the sound foundation of constitutional authority."
Back in September, the Independence Secretariat announced the launch of a national logo and theme concept competition. 3 talented Bahamian designs won the hearts of the judging panel. Chair of the Independence Secretariat, Leslie Miller-Bryce, officially announced the winners.
Tonight's unveiling marks the official launch of our year of Jubilee and celebrations. The creation of our official logo, theme, and pattern represents the undeniable value of our creatives, the gift of innovation, but also the necessity of collaboration. After hundreds of concept submissions, we combined the works of these talented young Bahamians to create our official theme and pattern and logo. Mr. Devontae Butler, Mrs. Kirsten Lockhart-Pinder, Mr. Darrell Williams, Mr. Nicholas Barnes. Thank you all for sharing your ideas, your time, your talents with our country.
The night showcased Bahamian talent such as the Bahamas National Youth Choir, the melodious sounds of the combined Royal Bahamas Police Force and Defense Force Band.
I have taken the liberty to not just welcome you to tonight's unveiling, but to welcome you to the year of our 50th Jubilee. I can assure you, Bahamas, that we are expected to have a grand celebration from now until July 2024. A year and a half of activities that encompasses all that we've accomplished and all we hope to achieve in the next 50 years and beyond. Tonight's launch is only the tip of the jubilant iceberg. Following a year of public engagement, focus groups, keen discussions, pollings, and submissions, we've created what we believe to be one of the best celebrations the Bahamas has ever seen.
To top it all off, the night ended with a spectacular fireworks display and a Junkanoo Rush out by 2-time champion One Family. The Junkanoo Rush led to the All Bahamian Village, which showcased local Bahamian vendors like Bamboo Shack, Muddo Freeze, Ice Cream, and Switcher, to name a few. And they all gave free samples, by the way. The celebrations continue until July under the theme, The Bahamas, 50, One Nation, Our Legacy, Our Future. In this next report, we hear from our Cale Campbell, who was also downtown last night and filed this report from the All Things Bahamian Village that featured a number of entrepreneurs and their uniquely Bahamian products.
Our Jcn News team was at the official launch for the 50th.
Can we get your name and position?
Fred Taylor, brand manager for Switcher.
All right. So we are here at the All Things Bahamian Village, and clearly as Switcher is a Bahamian company, you know, what does it mean being out here?
Local beverage retailer Switcher, whose brand ambassador Fred Taylor shared his thoughts on the event.
Well, we were chosen for a reason. You know, we grew up drinking Switcher. We grew up, we'll make one Switcher. You know, we look at the lime, sugar in the water. This is what we know. Alright, so for us to be invited to be a part of this, meaning that we are in touch with our roots and we stay true to who we are as Bahamians with the name Switcher and the beverage.
Ice cream retailer Mother Freeze made their presence known as founder and CEO Wayne Munker told us what the moment means to him as a Bahamian.
So it's an honor to be a part of the 50th golden anniversary. You know, the country is going to be 50 years old. It's definitely an honor to be a part of this. Mother Freeze is also a part of sharing Bahamian culture through food. They do ice creams and softballs, and so as a chef, I think it's an honor for me to be a part of this food village, offering authentic, organic Bahamian experiences through food.
Representing for OMG Cookies and Cakes, TJ tells us more about the bakery located on Carter Street.
We specialize in food, pastries. As you can see, this is cooperative. These are samples, Road to 50. So you can check us out at OMG Bakery at Instagram or at OMG Cookies and Bakery. We're located on Carter Street. That's the office of the Guardian. We're out here checking out, you know, free sample of what we bake. So yeah, come on and support. Bahamas is about to be 50, so Road to 50, we're just celebrating, you know, a taste of what we and what we have.
The All Things Bahamian Village is just one example of what Independent Secretariat Permanent Secretary Jack Thompson was on record saying, that the Golden Jubilee will be an opportunity to showcase the country's talents, creativity, hospitality, culture, athletic abilities, fine arts, and cuisine. For Jcn News, I'm Cale Campbell.
Thanks for that report, Cale. The 32nd Annual Bahamas Business Outlook, or BBO, was held Thursday at the Bahamas Resort Convention Center in celebration of the 50th anniversary independence of the Bahamas. The one-day event, held under the theme Forward, Upward, Onward Together, featured sessions geared towards discussions on an honest look at how far we have come as a nation, where we need to go, and how best to achieve our present and future objectives. Prime Minister Philip Davis, as the keynote speaker, highlighted the many accomplishments of the nation during the past 50 years.
Crime and violence haunt our neighborhoods. Too many of our young men are in crisis. These problems have been with us for a long time, and despite good faith efforts by many, enduring progress has been elusive. When we took office, we inherited an economy in severe recession, a government deeply in debt, empty classrooms and schools in disrepair, and a healthcare system on the verge of collapse. The country faced an economic crisis, a fiscal crisis, an education crisis, and a health crisis. It was made worse by the Russian invasion of Ukraine. With the global economy already in shock after COVID-19 pandemic, that war has driven energy and food prices higher and caused a lot of turbulence around the world. Even in the face of these adverse conditions, progress is possible.
The Prime Minister says the government has made many strides in the right direction in a very short time. He assures Bahamians of his administration's continued strides in the blue and orange economy, as well as plans for the new school for the creative and performing arts in the next few months. The Prime Minister says the government has made many steps in the right direction in a very short time. He assures Bahamians of his administration's continued strides in the blue and orange economy, as well as plans for the new school for the creative and performing arts in the next few months.
We'll continue to pursue growth in GDP and revenue, maximize the amount of investment in the country, and maintain efforts to reduce our debt. That said, we will put particular focus on reducing the cost of living and making efforts to lift people out of poverty. As I mentioned on Tuesday, I met with the American Vice President, Kamala Harris, at the White House. Central to our discussion were issues relating to illegal maritime migration and gun smuggling. We agreed to broaden and strengthen the already strong partnership between our two countries in fighting these scourges, which do so much to threaten and undermine our society. And earlier, when I talked about our legacy, education is the main driver of national development. This isn't just an issue for parents with school-aged children. Educating our children is how we build our nation. We'll give even greater drive and focus to the work we have begun.
Prime Minister Davis encourages the public to partner with the government through entrepreneurial opportunities in economic development, education, criminal justice, as well as sponsorship support to any kind or of any kind. He says this is just one step as we move to fulfill the promise of independence. Prime Minister Philip Davis continues to take a strong stance on climate change and its impact on the Bahamas and the Caribbean. On Thursday, he was one of the speakers at the IDB Climate Change Symposium. Our Destiny Johnson was there and files this report.
The Bahamas government is pushing towards greater climate change action. During a one-day symposium held at the Bahama Resort on Thursday, led by the Inter-American Development Bank IDB, under the theme Climate Change and the Importance of Disaster and Health Risk Management in the Bahamas, it encompassed in-person presentations on the IDB's perspective on integrated risk management, lessons learned from Hurricane Dorian, the concept of ideation, and much more. Prime Minister Philip Davis, during his keynote address, says that the COVID-19 pandemic and Hurricane Dorian in 2019 prompted a series of health, economic, and governmental crises. He goes on to say that with so many consuming problems, countries have now started to turn their backs on commitments to battling climate change, which is a step in the wrong direction.
For example, in spite of pledges to reduce carbon emissions, some European countries have returned to burning coal in order to satisfy their energy needs. And all the while, here in the Bahamas, our inherent vulnerabilities remain. We are still a low-lying archipelago, one of the top 10 countries most vulnerable to rising sea levels and other impacts of climate change. Our debt burden remains high, in significant part due to these climate risks, including the need to regularly rebuild homes, businesses, and infrastructure after devastating hurricanes. Our cost of borrowing prices in the risk of future hurricanes, so we are, in a sense, already paying a high price for the intensifying weather patterns of tomorrow.
PM Davis asserts that the country is already paying a high price due to the climate risks. According to reports, the El Nino climate phenomenon, described as the unusual warming of surface waters in the eastern tropical Pacific Ocean, will return later this year. The Prime Minister warns that the Bahamas is expected to experience even hotter summers and higher than usual rainfall. He says that although the government is making progress, it is still insufficient to make us fully resilient in the face of challenges.
In the realm of disaster management, we are rationalizing the activities of NEMA and the DRA to help make them more efficient and effective. We have launched a home assistance repair program in Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini, and New Providence, which will hopefully provide much overdue relief to many. We also continue to oversee debris management sites in hurricane-affected areas on the island of Grand Bahama and Abaco, and are in the process of constructing a new hurricane shelter for the island of Abaco. The recently launched Youth Guard initiative has been set up so that, in the event of a national disaster, young Bahamians will be able to participate in every part of the National Disaster Plan, from prevention and mitigation through to recovery. We are still a long way away from doing all that we need to do to protect ourselves and to be able to maximize our response to natural disasters, but we are making progress.
Add to that, the leader of the nation says left unchecked, our island nation will struggle to survive. He asserts that climate change is not just an issue for the government, but for everyone. He asserts that with connections such as the IDB and other organizations, it is exactly what is needed to help the country's economic position. For Jcn News, I'm Destiny Johnson.
Thanks for that report, Destiny. Minister of Economic Affairs Michael Halkita said the Bahamas and the Inter-American Development Bank have enjoyed a mutually beneficial partnership over the years. This partnership, he said, has allowed the Bahamas to tap into relevant projects that build capacity, one of which is currently a $500,000 project that focuses on capacity building in disaster and health risk management. Mr. Halkitis was speaking at the Climate Change and the Importance of Disaster and Health Risk Management in the Bahamas. That symposium hosted by the Inter-American Development Bank at Bahamas on Thursday. Mr. Halkitis said the Inter-American Development Bank and the Bahamas have over the years forged mutually beneficial partnerships that has encouraged and bloomed. This cooperation has taken the form of projects and policy-based financing and special assistance and cooperation. Mr. Halkitis ended his address by wishing the participants success in their discussions and confirming the support of his ministry. And finally, in this segment, today, Friday, Chester Cooper, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, announced the appointment of Mrs. Latia Duncombe as the new Director General of his ministry. In a statement, he said, during the past year, Mrs. Duncombe has brought energetic leadership to their senior executive management team after having made a seamless transition from the corporate sector to public service, parlaying her wealth and knowledge of experience into outstanding leadership of team tourism. Mrs. Duncombe is the 7th executive named Director General in the Ministry of Tourism's 54th year and the 3rd female to be appointed as technical head. In response to the appointment, Mrs. Duncombe said she is both honored and privileged to be given the opportunity to lead the Bahamas' chief economic engine. Mrs. Duncombe's appointment took effect on January 16th. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.